think there's passion flowers out over here. I might be wrong. It might be something completely different. That's a bit of wisteria up inside the passion flower. There's lots of buds on the passion flower. I can't actually see any flowers. Bit blurred. So I have been very tired. I'm just not doing a lot. Doing what I have to do, which is mainly making a meal for lunchtime, and then and struggling to reach that point, and then just slumping. Not really sure what's going on, so I thought I would do a bit of a garden wander. We were meant to take Mrs. Goldbrahma to the vets on Friday, and on Friday morning I thought she seemed better. So we cancelled the appointment, and then I went to put her to bed on Friday evening, and she looked okay, but her leg didn't look okay. I'm just going to make sure I don't hang myself on the washing line. But her foot was turned in a bit, which was a bit worrying, because sometimes that's a sign of a pelvic fracture. So I sort of was a bit confused about that, because when Ludo's taken away all the rubble that was here, it's going to clear this more tomorrow and continue and finish off the fence. So yeah, she hadn't shown any signs of pain. And when I examined her legs before, she didn't flinch when I was extending them and retracting them. So I was a bit shocked. So I made a phone call yesterday, which was Saturday, and obviously not really thinking, and got hold of a probably emergency vet man who asked me lots of questions. I said, is she eating? Is she drinking? I said she is, and he said, we'll bring her in on Monday. So I'm going to take her in on Monday, which is tomorrow morning. When I picked her up this morning, because she's deciding to be broody, it's probably the best idea for her at the moment. I picked her up and brought her out to under that wisteria down there, because it's sunny there in the mornings. I picked her up and she's quite heavy, so she's certainly not wasting away. Quite a meaty bird, if you were going to eat chicken. So we're going to go to the vets tomorrow. I don't know, I still think it's a sprain, and I think that the leg, I think she's turned her leg as a way of adapting to help balance her. It's a bit like Jazz has got a sort of Jazzy's posture is, or Jazzy's front leg is pushed round more to the front to counterbalance herself with only having 3 legs, and I think this is the hen is just sort of counterbalancing herself. I've just been watching Mark's sitting reading, well wrapped up because the breeze is a bit cool. So he's sitting reading in the garden, and I've been sitting with the blanket on me and the gas fire on, watching A Perfect Storm, or The Perfect Storm with George Clooney, which Mark recorded for me last week. And I said to him, I watched it, and I said to him, that's not the film I've been talking about. So I've yet to find the film I've been talking about, which is set in an American town where it just doesn't stop raining for days and days and days and days, and it gets very flooded. That's the film I thought Perfect Storm was, but it wasn't. So I'm going to have to do a bit of a Google, I think. Google some George Clooney films. That's still lovely, but I know that it's beginning to fade now, and it's not quite as bushy as it was when it first flowered. So yeah, they're beginning to go white, these flowers. Now this one smells, the other one doesn't have a smell. This one I can smell it even standing here, as you can imagine. Beautifully decorated hen quarters. Until you look inside. What are you doing? Huh? Sitting on eggs? 2 eggs. Come on. You're going to come out? They go into a bit of a hypnotic trance when they go broody. Come on. It's sunny out here. I'm carrying her now under my arm. Bum view. I have to be careful. I've got 2 eggs in my pocket now. Don't want them to be squashed. See that right leg, that right foot is turned inward. But she's standing, you know, she's not showing any signs of pain. Just going to put these eggs somewhere so I don't, up there, so I don't squash them. And I'm going to sit on this chair. Oop. Now that's better being out here, isn't it? And with your friends, with your mates. I was looking at his legs the other day, and they look really, really good. And there's all feathers. They're all feathered up, so it's very difficult to look at them now. So He's doing well. It's a shame because she can't scratch. You know, she can't do the scratching that hens do when they're wandering around. I'm sure she will be able to once she's been sorted. When we had expats several years ago, they didn't scratch. Ex-factory hens, they didn't scratch. But it wasn't long. It was about 3 days before you found them doing, you know, instinctive scratching. Didn't take them long, but when we first got them, they just stood there, and it was so sad. You know, half feathered, floppy combs, inability to scratch. And then they had a lovely time. They were the friendliest hens, the most tame hens. And the problem was they didn't have any fear, so they sadly would wander off out through the hedge onto the road, and we lost at least 2 on the main road. So yeah, Mark had to work really hard to put. He put a fence along the hedge line, and just as he was finishing the last piece of fence, he watched one walk through the gaps. So then we had to go out and buy netting to go across the fence, across the hedge. We haven't had any problems since, but yeah, it was a problem. Oh, it is, it's her right leg that's turned in. I think it's difficult to tell. Wonder what they'll find. I think they're probably going to do an X-ray. What are you doing, Mrs. Cat? Hmm? You could be mistaken for a gold Brahma, couldn't you? Look, you blend in. Hmm? We both have blankets or throws that we put over, you know, if we're sitting watching telly and it's a bit cool. And I put marks on her yesterday. She was sitting beside me on a table, a side table, and I put marks over her. Then Mark went off to fetch wood in, I think, and I went back to my desk, and I noticed her wandering past me very slowly with the blanket still hanging over her. She couldn't escape the blanket. It was quite funny. Okay. So I'll go back up there now. Go search that film on Google. Meanwhile, Ida's chewing the cud. I think she's been eating wisteria. She'll eat anything. It's funny. People think sheep only eat grass, but she won't eat nettles, as you can see. And the chickens don't eat nettles. She won't eat rosemary, and she won't eat mint. But she likes chewing bark off trees. And ivy. When we had the 3 sheep when they first came, we named the mother Ivy, partly because they just stripped all the ivy off the back of that old shed, those sheds at the front of the house. It was ivy growing up there, and they just stripped it. They loved it. So we called Mum Ivy. Dad was Inca. Not Dad, he was her second brother, her half-brother, Inca. And this one, Ida, was the lamb. Don't you start on her. You're standing guard, aren't you? Are you stopping people going in and out? You're a mean... Oi! You're a mean sheep. Aren't you? People love you, but they don't realise how mean you are. Let that cockerel out. Go on, let him out, let him out. See, I bully you like you bully them. Right, let's pick up those eggs. Bonne soirée.